Skill rewarded Mansell with the world driving title. His popularity with and dedication to the racing fan is legend. But 1 year ago, he left his comfortable kingdom in Formula One to accept new challenges in the IndyCars. The learning curve was steep and difficult, but Nigel was equal to the task. His red number 5 soon had IndyCar fans cheering a string of poles and wins. Throughout the year, Mansell has controlled the points fight. Today at Mid-Ohio, the Lion can become the first rookie in the 82-year history of the IndyCars to take the title. But there are other men from other lands with the same dream. Brazilian Emerson Fittipaldi, the Indy 500 champion. He's second in the points and the defending champion at Mid-Ohio. Canadian Paul Tracy, third in the points. Youthful and daring. Inexperience has stolen points, but his brash style has also netted 4 wins this year. Tracy is the young gun of the IndyCars. They all dream of the PPG Cup and its fame and fortune. But today, Nigel Mansell can make history. Speed World. From the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the IndyCars are ready for the Pioneer Electronics 200. And the focus today is on Nigel Mansell in the championship. We begin with Gary Gerould.
Paul, 6 times this year, Nigel Mansell has picked up one of those precious bonus points for getting the pole position. Perhaps none as significant as the one he earned yesterday in the final 3 minutes of qualifying. By 0.14 of a second, he bumped Paul Tracy from the pole. Nigel getting ready to climb into the cockpit of the car right now. Nigel, the quick word that we have for you, do you play it conservative and go for the championship today, or because it's so tough to pass here, go all out for the win from the pole position?
I think to keep it exciting, we'll just let everybody wait and see.
Well, indeed, it will be very exciting. He settles in. He'll be strapped in. A couple of things to keep in mind. The 4 times he's won this year, starting in Australia. Then, of course, Milwaukee, Michigan, New Hampshire, all venues where he had no previous racing experience. He's had the luxury of 2 test sessions here at Mid-Ohio. He's obviously put it to excellent use. Now he settles in. He gets ready for 200 miles and a chance to clinch the championship. Paul?
Well, Gary, Nigel Mansell can make history today and become the first rookie in the 82-year history of the IndyCars to become the PPG Cup champion and also back it to his World Formula One title. But how does he do that? Well, let's take a look at the way the points are distributed right now. Nigel Mansell, quite simply stated, and there are a number of scenarios, but in its simplest form, if he leaves here 45 points ahead of anyone else, then he takes the PPG Cup here at Mid-Ohio. Now, he's already earned a point for the pole, and let's remind ourselves of how many points are awarded for each position, because this is going to be a critical balance throughout the afternoon. And, of course, the other key player is Emerson Fittipaldi. Right now, let's get an update on him from Jan Beekes.
Paul, Emerson Fittipaldi has been quick this weekend. He sat on pole position until the final moments of qualifying when he was bumped by teammate Paul Tracy and then by Nigel Mansell. On Friday, he didn't get much running because of an electrical problem. So they put Paul Tracy's setup on the car. He's very happy with it, but he likes a little more front wing because he likes to get a little looser or more sideways in the corners. We asked him about his attitude for the race. Now that the pressure is on, he said one word describes it: bonsai. I'm going for it. Also, keep in mind that it is threatening skies here, and if it rains, he was the man to beat at Portland. That's where it rained. A lot of people are also talking about the 1994 season. Gary Gerould has more on that.
Yeah, no question. Speculation is rampant this time of the year about who's going to be driving with what team next season. So we decided we'd make our own little silly season consensus or poll of the drivers, particularly among some of those whose future seems to be somewhat in doubt.
Ready yet?
Well, I'd like to know who's going where and who's doing what, so then I can make my own plans too. But
I'm not at liberty to speak too much, but
we're just trying to get through this season,
I'm trying to keep all the options open, and
I'm probably the most confused of the whole lot. I got 4 options.
Apart from the team I'm driving for, I guess 3 serious teams that I'm talking to right now.
And every day I add another one.
either with Michael Cranifus' new team,
There's quite a few car owners. Ganassi.
talking to Chip again.
Well, I have not signed any contract for next year with any team yet.
Maybe Rick Gallis?
You know, we're just going to watch and see what happens.
Maybe Bernstein, you never know.
Well, the only firm offer that I have is to drive a New York City cab for next year.
Really, I don't know where I'm going to be yet.
Basically, I'm still out there, you know, trying to put together a deal.
And I think a decision will be made pretty soon.
Whatever I do will be focused on the Indy 500, on the Brickyard.
As far as I know, Mansell hasn't signed yet with Carl Haas, so that's a possibility also. So
we've got great potential for 94, but it's that time of year.
So I think by the time Nazareth rolls around, or by the time we get to Laguna for sure, I think that we would have signed something somewhere, and
we should be signing something soon.
Well, I don't have a deal yet together, but
definitely going to go somewhere different.
I do plan on working in 1994.
Are we ready yet?
I don't know. Do you?
One man who was notably missing from that montage, Mansell, who is so focused on trying to win this championship here today, he declined the opportunity to talk at all about his plans for 1994. The hunch here? I think he's going to be back in IndyCars driving for Newman Haas. Also, a lot of speculation, Paul, about Michael Andretti. He finished on the podium today in the Grand Prix, and people are wondering, was this his last F1 ride? Will he be back? How's that going to figure into the mix? A lot of speculation here in silly season.
Yeah, and it's absolutely clear exactly what all those guys are going to do. Now, does everyone understand why we don't do a lot of really dramatic coverage of the silly season? It's named that for a reason. Today's coverage of the IndyCars is brought to you by Pioneer Car Electronics. Our customers made us the #1 choice for car and audio products. By Goodyear, #1 in tires. And by Advanced High-Tech Formula Quaker State Motor Oil. It's formulated for today's high-tech engines. Sports car course for the Pioneer Electronics 200. History could indeed be made here today. And Derek Daly, we're talking a series that's no longer purely American.
That's right, it truly has an international flavor now. I think when Nigel Mansell, the world champion, made the move to IndyCars, he sent a message to drivers around the world that this could be, in fact, a viable career move. Now, drivers also believe that their talent can bring them to the front here a little bit easier because IndyCars tend to be a lot more evenly matched. Now, the international flavor, remember, there are 8 different countries represented here, and it really has enhanced this championship. Where will the championship go? It may go to Canada with Paul Tracy, or Brazil with Emerson Fittipaldi, or back to England with Nigel Mansell. Mansell was spectacular yesterday in qualifying, as he's done many times in the dying moments, grabbed the pole position. But he will have his hands full this afternoon, trying to fend off these 2 Penske cars for the course of this race.
Well, Derek Daly, Danny Sullivan is strapped in the 8th row, ready to go racing. Let's take a look at the starting grid. On the pole, Nigel Mansell, a record 6th rookie-year pole for the points leader. Alongside is Paul Tracy. He's won 4 races this year, all on road courses. Inside the 2nd row is Emerson Fittipaldi, the defending champion of the Pioneer Electronics 200. And Raul Boesel, who has 3 runner-up finishes in the 93 campaign. Inside row 3 is Scott Goodyear with 7 top 10 finishes this year. And Al Unser Jr., the winner 2 weeks ago at Vancouver. Inside row 4 is Teo Fabi, a 2-time IndyCar winner here in Mid-Ohio. And Arie Luyendyk, still looking for his first career win on a road course. In row 5, it's Jimmy Vasser, equaling his best career starting position. And Mario Andretti with his 489th career start. And in the 6th row, it's Stefan Johansson and Mauricio Gugelmin, who's making his first start coming over from Formula One. The 7th row, Mark Smith and Bobby Rahal. In row 8, it's Robbie Gordon and Danny Sullivan. The 9th row, Mike Groff and Scott Brayton. In row 10, Brian Till and Scott Pruitt. In row 11, Eddie Cheever, who now replaces Roberto Guerrero in Kenny Bernstein's car, and Willie T. Ribbs. In the 12th row, Hiro Matsushita and Robbie Buell. Row 13, Marco Greco and Buddy Lazier. And row 14, David Coudrave and Olivier Griard, who was an alternate here today, will replace Dominic Dobson in 28th position. Dobson reported a failure in his gearbox and will not be able to start. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Paul, it's interesting. You may remember a year ago on the eve of this race, Roger Penske flew down to Richmond to watch Rusty Wallace in Winston Cup competition. Rusty got the win. Penske came back. Fittipaldi and Tracy ran 1-2 at this racetrack. What a weekend for Roger Penske. Well, last night, Penske was in Richmond again. Wallace got another win. Can they do it here at Mid-Ohio as they fire the engines? Let's go check in with Jan Beekes.
Well, Gary, we do have threatening skies, and the teams have put out these rain tires just in case we do get that precipitation. Within the last half hour, there has been some rain, and the teams had to make the choice. Do we start this race on a dry setup or on the wet setting? Here at Mid-Ohio, because it's a slow course, they disconnect the anti-roll bar so the car can roll in the dry anyway. That would be a normal change for the wet. Just slapping on these wet tires should do it if we do get rain. Paul?
So the IndyCar engines are fired, ready to go. What's this? Paul Newman with a softball. Don't forget, next Thursday in Reading will be Rick Mears' night, where the IndyCar drivers are going to play against the NHRA. The Diggers better look out. Yeah, I know we have some problems with nationalities, but look at Nigel Mansell. And look at that, over the fence. You tell me we're not in great shape? So that's Thursday, all to the benefit of charity in Reading. It's the Rick Mears Honored Day. And we, of course, will have coverage of that event on October 17th, the Rick Mears Night of Champions, as NHRA and the IndyCars battle. Tronics 200, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, as the field circulates on its first of several laps with the PPG pace cars in front. As we take a look at what lies ahead, the pit stop window, of course, very much dependent upon whether or not we run under yellow or green conditions. And as Jan has mentioned to you, there is a possibility of some rain in the area. Also, remember, we start this race over on the backside, coming out of a portion of the circuit called the Keyhole. The pit straight is way too short for a start. The weather possibilities this afternoon, chance of rain, though we have no indication of exactly what that chance is. It's clear right now overhead, though it's heavily overcast, and there has been rain showers pass lightly through the area throughout the day. Onboard cameras today, Nigel Mansell, of course, as you look from his record-breaking position in the front row. We also have them scattered throughout the field. We'll have views, both this view and one over his shoulder. You can see the camera there, Danny Sullivan, who starts back in the 8th row, and that nose cam of Bobby Rahall's car. Remember, this is probably the most experienced driver on this circuit. This used to be his home test circuit. We'll also have some telemetry being transmitted to us from Raul Boycel's car, which has been fascinating in the past, and again, given the nature of this wonderfully challenging road course, should be informative again today. The circuit itself is, as I suggested, challenging, and Derek, it's one that's fairly easy to overdrive, you suggest?
I think it is. Bit of an unusual racetrack here as we watch Eddie Cheever has some last-minute troubles hopefully taken care of. But this track demands a finesse and a rhythm, I think, to be consistently fast. Variety of mainly medium-speed corners, but there are sudden and abrupt elevation changes. Speeds down the straight almost 190 miles an hour during qualifying, with a fairly good passing area as we watch Gugelmin, one of the new international additions here this weekend.
And we have some telemetry available here as well. And there you see the telemetry that'll be emitted there. Another Brazilian in the series, and one who has looked particularly strong in this, his first run with the IndyCars.
He actually was very good on Saturday morning here. I mean, he went from like 20th, 21st fastest, suddenly vaulted himself all the way up into the top 10. Didn't quite match that in qualifying, but he definitely opened a few eyes and pleased himself in particular.
Here, of course, as they come from Bobby Rahall's car out of that Keyhole area, we're talking here is where the first movements of the start will take place over on the backside of the race course. So as we take a look at how the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course is laid out with 13 turns here, Derek, it's one that you've enjoyed.
Lots of turns. You're very busy here. What you don't see, obviously, from the map is the tremendous elevation changes. They are abrupt. They do suddenly happen. We'll see great pictures from the in-car camera here.